the one, the only, Ben Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we continue with Daf Gittin, Daf Zion. It's a lot of Agadah on today's Daf, and I want to talk about something very important to practical Judaism nowadays, the concept of Jewish music, which comes up again in this Daf. It came up briefly in Masech Sota at the end. And Iyod Ben Sion in Masech Sota, I said an explanation, which a day later I regretted saying the explanation because I thought of a better explanation. And I do have that refined, better explanation now. I will share with you because it comes up on this daf also. And I got prove it from this daf. And a big heter for Jewish music, because from the Gemara in Sota and the Gemara here, the seeming explanation, at least according to the Mefarshim, according to Art Scroll, is that Jewish music is forbidden at all times. Once the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, it's questionable how people are allowed to listen to Jewish music nowadays, because this Gemara explicitly forbids it. Of Palm, other Gedolim had said over the years that you're not allowed to listen to any Jewish music, unless, of course, you're dancing on Shabbos or Simplest Torah or things like that with a company of the mitzvah. But just to listen to Jewish music in your car, not allowed. I have a heter for you, and I believe it's true, and it's a very interesting, fascinating way the Gemara says it. So you're going to want to stick around for Ian with Ben Sion, the Ian Shir, the Aben and Ian Shir I give every day, which follows this year. Let's get into the Gemara. We'll start from Zion and Aleph, the top. The third line. Amar Rabbi Abaul, Olam al yatil adam ema yisera b'sof beis. A person should never instill extra fear in his household. Sharei adam gadol hitil ema yisera b'sof beis. A great person did this. He made everyone afraid. He took a lot of chumras upon himself. People were afraid of violating the halacha. Ve'yichilu davar gadol. He ended up eating something that was really forbidden. Umanu, who is this? Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. Hechilu sakadaitach. Does it mean that he actually ate something that was forbidden? Hash behemtem tzadikim ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu maybe takal al yadam. The Gemara is in the Tzachas Chulin. There's a unique story. Even the animals of tzadikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prevents them from eating something which is aser. The Gemara, if you look in the Chulin, the beginning of Chulin, Daf Zion, I believe, the Chamor of Pinchas ben Yair. Tzadikim atzman lakosh. Concerning tzadikim, they're not going to eat anything. Hashem prevents them, even inadvertently. They're not going to eat something that's forbidden. Ela bikshu. What does it mean? Bikshu la'achil davar gadol. They tried to feed it to him. He actually didn't end up eating it. He didn't violate it. Umaynihu. What was it? Avra min achai. It was a limb from an animal. They didn't want to tell him that it wasn't shechted properly or wasn't shechted fully. He was ready to eat the avra min achai, a limb from a live animal. He actually didn't eat it, but because the Gemara learns, because he instilled extra fear in his house, so therefore they didn't want to tell him that it wasn't shechted fully yet. People, they're threatening me. He's a rabbi. He get death threats sometimes. They don't like his policies. He's too machmir on his kehila, on his congregation. They're threatening me if I don't allow men and women to swim at the swimming pool together. They're going to kill me. Could I give them over to the king? Let's say they have, everyone's does things that are not 100% correct. Not everybody, but most people. Do I have the right to report them to the government? Get them in trouble? Mao, Sirtate, because of he wrote on a paper, was scored it, meaning it was more official. Amarti Eshmra Darcha Machto Balashon. He quoted a pasuk. It says, I'll watch my path from sinning with my mouth. Eshmra Lefi Machso. I'll watch my mouth. I'll put a muzzle on my mouth. But Od Russia Lenegdi. While the Russia is opposite me. I'll be Russia. So he darshan the pasuk. I'll be Russia Lenegdi. Even though I have evil people that are standing against me, they want to kill me. Eshmra Lefi Machso. I'll watch my mouth. I'll put a muzzle on my mouth. Basically, don't say anything. Shalach lei kamizarli too. But he sent back to him. They're causing me excessive pain. They're giving me death threats every night. I have nothing to say back to them. I'm constantly running away from them. I don't want to see them. Shalach lei dom laHashem v'yischolel lo. The pasuk says dom laHashem, be silent to Hashem v'yischolel lo. What does that mean? Dom laHashem hu yapilcha pilim lecha chalalim chalam. Be silent to Hashem. Don't say anything, and Hashem will take care of it. He'll make them lie corpses amongst corpses. He'll kill them. Hashkem v'herav alein. What does that mean? basically means Dom La Hashem doesn't mean be silent, do nothing. Hashke Harwell in the base of Medrash. Make sure you go early in the morning and late at night to the base Medrash. And they'll fall by themselves. Once he said this, Gniva apparently was the person threatening him. He was known in other places in Shas as a bandit, an armed bandit. They ended up taking him in chains and putting him in jail. They sent to Marukva, Zimra Minal the Aser. How do you know it's Aser? Zemer. Now, Zemer means a song, Jewish music. How do you know it's Aser? He wrote, the reason the Gemara brings these examples because we're talking about sirtet, on scoring. When you write psukim, you have to score the line. So he wrote to him a pasuk, Al tismach Yisrael gil ba'am. Don't, Klal Yisrael should not be happy what the non-Jewish people are happy with. So you shouldn't be having non-Jewish people like non-Jewish music. Jewish people shouldn't have Jewish music. People shouldn't drink wine when they're singing. Shouldn't sing while they're drinking wine. And any beer or alcohol they drink will be bitter to them. Again, it seems from this pasuk it's forbidden. If it's from just that pasuk, that's talking about music from instruments. Aval the Puma Shari. But simply singing with your mouth without instruments would be mutter kamash malat, to teach you what? That both are in fact asur. Instruments and singing with your mouth. So it seems pretty much all music is asur, whether it's with instruments or even a cappella music is asur. So even during Sfira, even during the 3 weeks, a cappella music is forbidden according to the Gemara. It seems that there's no heter at all. But I will find you a heter in Eva Ben Sion, so you want to stick around for that. So the Gemara says, Amalei Rav Huna bar Nasan Rav Ashi. Rav Nasan said to Rav Ashi, "My dichsiv kina v'dimona v'adada." Now these are psukim, some of the cities in the portion of Yehuda that are mentioned in Sefer Yoshua when he was allocating the land to Bnei Yisrael. Amar Lei said back to him, "Masvasa the Eretz Yisrael. These are the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. These are cities in Eretz Yisrael. Kafashim. It's not drasha over here. It's not teaching anything. Amar Lei atu ana lo yadana d'madfasa Eretz Yisrael kafashim. Of course, I know there's cities in Eretz Yisrael. Ella Rav Gvia Margiza Amar Ba Taima. There was a certain rabbi, Gvia from Margiza. He explained homiletically these words: Kol sheyesh lo kina al chaveiro. Anyone who has jealousy of his friend, v'domim, and yet he's silent. He doesn't take revenge on his friend. Shochen ade ad oselo din. The person Hashem who dwells forever, he will do this judgment for him. Amar lei. So he said, if you're darshaning psukim like that, the pasuk continues: Sikleg umadmana v'sansana. Hachinami. What homiletic drasha do you have about that? If he was here, Hava Amr Ba Time, he would have said as follows. He would have said something. Rav Chazai told you what he would have said. Anyone who has basically a taina, he has a claim against his friend for water, for thirst. Basically, someone's infringing on your parnasa, on your business. You have a claim against him, but you let it go. Shochem b'tznei osel odin, the person who lives in the thorn bush, right? Moshe saw the Shekhinah of Hashem in the thorn bush. Osel odin, Hashem will do a judgment for him, will take revenge for him. Amar lei rish gelusa Rav Huna, klila minal lan da'aser. How do you know it's forbidden for men or grooms to wear a crown when they get married? Amar lei midrabanan. He says the rabbis forbid it. Midoraisa, it's not a problem. The rabbis forbade it. How do you know they forbade it? It's not. We finished on Maseches Sota. But Puma Shal Spelnianus, when Vespasian was besieging Eretz Yisrael before he became king, and then Titus he became emperor, and then Titus took over. Gazral Taros Chasanim al Iros. There were gozer that grooms should not wear crowns, and also Iros, you shouldn't use tambourines, very loud instruments at weddings. So it's the Rabbanan. Adahachi. In the meantime, Kam Rav Huna left. Rav Huna went to go to the bathroom. Amalei Rav Chisda, who was remain there, he said, I actually have a pasuk, Kraksiv. It's not just Derabban, not Gzer Derabban. It's actually a source for it in the Nevi'im. Ksiv Kol Mar Hashem Elokim Aser Mitznefes Harim Adra. It says in Yechezkel. Hashem says, raise the mitznefes, which is a turban on your head, Harim Atara, and raise the crown. Zos lo zos Hashvela Hagbe Vagvo Ishpil. So the Gemara Darshan is the first part of the puzzle. Chima Inya Mitznefes Yitzal Tara. What does a turban have to do with a crown? When the Kohen Gadol is practicing and he's wearing the Shmona Begadim, the 8 clothes, one of them is a turban, a Tar Rosh Kol Adam. Right? When the Beis Hamikdash is around, the Kohen Gadol is servicing, he's wearing the turban. So then, a person getting married, a groom could wear a crown. Or no, once the Kohen Gadol is gone, so then you can't wear a crown anymore. While he was saying this, Runa came back. He saw they were sitting. I'm like, hello, Kim, the Rabbanan. Really, it's the Rabbanan. This is not a good source that you brought. It's not a real source from the pasuk. It's a nice drasha that you made. Your name is Rav Chisda, and you have very charming words, but that's not really the source. It's really only Gzer the Rabbanan. Ravina Ashkeche Lemar Baravashi. Ravina found Ramar Rashi to have a Gadol Klila Labarte. He was making a crown for his daughter, for her wedding, or the bride. Amr Le Lo Savar Lamar Aser Mitzvahs Harim Torah. You don't hold to this pasuk that Rav Chisda quoted before, that when the Kohen Gadol is no longer practicing, you can't wear crowns even when you get married. Amr Le Dumya the Kohen Gadol Begavri Abu Benashi Lo. That was the man Kohen Gadol who was male. For men, they can't wear crowns, but women can. My Zos Lo Zos. What's the end of the pasuk? Zos Lo Zos. Darshar Yavira Zimnan Amar Mishmei the Rabami. Zimnan Amar Mishmei the Ravasi. Sometimes he said the name of Rabami. Sometimes the name of Ravasi. B'shasha Amar Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. At the time Hashem said to Yisrael, Haser Mitznefesh V'Arim Atara. Amru Malach Yisrael Snei Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shalom. Zos Lahem Yisrael Shektivu Fanecha B'Sinai Nasal Nishma. Now they can't wear crowns anymore. They were the ones at Har Sinai. They said Nasa before they said Nishma. Shavuos is coming up. Amar Lahem Lo Zos Lahem Yisrael. Hashem says back to them, it's not that it shouldn't be like this for Yisrael. As the pasuk continues, they raise up something, they put down something that was high, and they raise up something which was lowly. What did they do? They took a Kadosh Baruch Hu out of the Beis Mikdash and they put an idol in the Heichal. So it is Hashem saying to Malach Hasharis, there is a reason why they can no longer wear crowns when they get married. Another teaching, Ravira said, some say the name of Rami, some say the name of Ravasi. Hashem says, if you are complete and you're a lot, then you will be sheared and you'll pass through. It means a person sees that his parnasa, he doesn't have a lot of food around. He's not making a lot of money. Yasem having stuck, unless he still do stucca. Not too much stucca, but a little bit of stucca. Because and certainly when he has a lot of money, he should give a lot of stucca. What does the end of the pasuk mean? Anyone who shears from his property, he shears like wool, shearing wool off the back of a sheep. You take your own money from your account and you give it to stucca. Need someone will be saved from the punishment of Gehenna. It's comparable to two young sheep, female sheep that are passing through the water. One had its wool shorn and one didn't. Kazuzah Avra, the one who does not have the wool on its back, will be able to pass. The one who is not shorn, has the wool on its back, it'll get all wet, it won't be able to pass. The Gemara continues, Zainam Avez, Vinisicha, Pasuk ends up Vinisicha. Amar Marzusha, Afil Anim Esparnis Min Atstaka. Vinisicha means to torment you, to cause you pain. Hafilu, so the Gemara Darshan, Hafilu, it's a reference to Anisicha is a reference to a poor person. Hafilu Anim Esparnis Min Atstaka. Even if you're a poor person who's getting allocations from charity, Yaset Staka, you should do Staka. Lo Anech Od, Pasuk continues, Lo Anech Od, I won't cause you pain anymore. Tani Rav Yosef, Shuv ein marin lo simani aniyos. If you do that, to give stock, even when you're a poor person, you'll never go to poverty again the rest of your life. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Merakim LeMizrach. Going back to the Mishnah, we had the borders. Rabbi Yehuda says, right, that Akko is a northern boundary of Eretz Yisrael, and Akko is actually, according to Rabbi Yehuda, considered out of Eretz Yisrael. Remember, the Akko that's thrown into Eretz Yisrael Kaim. Does that mean the Akko is to the north of Eretz Yisrael and not included in Eretz Yisrael? You're going from Akko to Kziv. Kziv was north of Akko. If you're going up to Kziv, so if you look to the right of you, to the east, right, you assume that the land is Tmeya. That's part of the West Bank. It's not part of Israel. And the Afar of Chutz La'aretz, the Afar Ha'amim, makes you Talmid Rabbanim, Mishum Eretz Ha'amim. Because it's considered Chutz La'aretz. So P'tur min ha'Maiser min ha'Shvius. That land is Pater from Maiser and Shvius, because only land in Eretz Yisrael is Chayav in the Shumas and Maisros and Shvius. Until you know that it's actually part of Eretz Yisrael. Mismolo, if you go to the left, that land, the Marav, to the west of you, Haderach Tahora, we assume that's part of Eretz Yisrael. Mishum Eretz Ha'amim. It's not considered It's considered part of Eretz Yisrael. The chayav is ma'aser shvius. You assume it's chayav ma'aser shvius, just like the ground of Eretz Yisrael. Actually, until you know for sure that it's not part of Eretz Yisrael. Ad heichan. Until where does these demarcations go? Ad kaziv. Until you get the kaziv. So you see what? That there's even a place which is north of Eretz Yisrael, kaziv, and on the way from Akko to kaziv, right? If you go to the left, it's part of Eretz Yisrael. So you see that even until kaziv, it's part of Eretz Yisrael. Certainly, Akko is part of Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara answers. The Gemara first says, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Lav Lavo. Not until Kziv. Even north of that, Lav Lavo is even northern Kziv. It's still considered part of Eretz Yisrael. Amar Abaye. So Abaye answered, Tzua Nafka. You're right. Technically, Akko is part of Eretz Yisrael, but only the narrow path from Akko to Kziv or to Lav Lavo, that is considered part of Eretz Yisrael. But anywhere else, right, a little bit to the east or a little bit to the west is not considered, at least on the path, right? When you go up, so to the west of you, to the left of you, that's considered part of Eretz Yisrael, but only along the path, only right next to the path. If you're not right next to the path, the border ends before Akko, right? Basically, the border of Eretz Yisrael, and Akko is not considered part of Eretz Yisrael. Whereas if Yav Tana Simana Hachi, the Tana of our Mishnah would talk about such a small ritzua. The Tana of the Braisa, right, which says when you go from Akko to Gziv, it will tell you about such a small. It's a narrow path. Why is it important enough to list that? The Gemara says yes, it's possible. The Torah also gives such a simon, such a sign. Asher misvona lebeisel mizracha Hashem esh lemasila haola mibeis el shchema uminega v'lvona. This is a long pasuk that's quoted in Shoftim. Hashem says there's going to be a holiday in Shiloh, and where does it describe Shiloh? It says Shiloh is directly next to the path from Beis El to Shechem. Beis El goes north to Shechem, and Shiloh is in the middle of that path. Amar Rav Papa Mizrach Hashem Masila, and Rav Papa says that basically the city of Shiloh is to the east of this path. There's a small path that goes from Beis El to Shechem, and the pasuk notes the pasuk also in Shoftim notes this. It takes note of this narrow path from Beis El to Shechem by saying that Shiloh was right next to it. The fact that the Navi gives importance to this path shows that even a Tana, even a small path, has significance. To say right next to it is part of Israel on one side, the other side it's not part of Israel, but it's only that narrow path. Technically, most of the land, even Akko, is considered, according to Rabbi Yehuda, outside the borders of Israel. Amar of Papa, Tana Chada. One Bryce said maybe again Besvinak, maybe Eretz Israel. Let's say you're on your way to Eretz Israel. You're coming from Cyprus, you're coming from Greece, and you're crossing the Mediterranean, and you want to write a get on the boat. Is that considered part of Eretz Yisrael? You have to say when you come to Eretz Yisrael, finding Nechtam or not. So one brother says maybe get Besfina can maybe be Eretz Yisrael. It's like he brings in Eretz Yisrael. You don't have to say finding Nechtam. Tani Idach can maybe be Chutz La'aretz. A different brother says it's like you're bringing from Chutz La'aretz. If it's written in the boat and signed in the boat, you have to say finding Nechtam. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Kash. How Rabbi Yehuda? How Rabbana? It's a machlokas. One brisa follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and one follows the opinion of Rabbana. This not the Mishnah. After Chutz La'aretz, the Bab Besfina La'aretz Chayav B'Maiser V'Shvius. Let's say you have dirt which comes from Chutz La'aretz, that it's coming in a boat. So, and you grew something, right? You grew a plant on the boat from Greece to Eretz Yisrael. You grew it, right? Is it Chayav B'Maiser and Shvius? If it's part of Eretz Yisrael, the Mediterranean is considered part of Eretz Yisrael. So it's Chayav B'Maiser and Shvius. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Emasai Bisman she'asfina goshesh." We only consider part of Eretz Yisrael when the boat is so close to the bed of the river, the bed of the sea, that it's knocking into the bed of the sea. If it's not knocking into the bed of the sea, Potter, it's not considered part of Eretz Yisrael. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, basically the regular Mediterranean Sea is not part of Eretz Yisrael. You have to say Fani Nachtam. According to the Rabbanan, you wouldn't. Abaye Amar Abaye says Hava Ha Rabbi Yehuda. You can say both prices reflect the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Below cash. A kam is manche sfina go sheshes. Kam is manche sfina go sheshes. One brisa was talking about a case where it wasn't touching the riverbed. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's part of Chutz La'aretz. You'd have to say if the get was written on that part of the Mediterranean, you have to say Fani Nekta. And the other brisa is talking about when it's getting close to the shore of Eretz Israel, where it's hitting into the riverbed occasionally, the boat. So then, the seabed, so then you'd have to say, then you would not have to say Fani Nekta because it's considered close enough for part of Eretz Israel. Technically, for maritime laws, there's borders in the Mediterranean Sea. What part of the sea is considered part of Israel? What is considered part of Lebanon? What's considered part of Cyprus? So I assume that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying over here, that when it gets close enough, I don't know if it has to actually hit the seabed, when it's close enough to Eretz Israel, I guess in its maritime borders, so then it would consider part of Israel. Outside would not consider part of Israel. We'll continue the discussion tomorrow. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, one of the most important Ian with Ben Sions you'll hear. If you like Benny Friedman, if you like Mordechai Shapiro, if you like Moshe Klein from Israel, they're going to want to hear this year. Also, Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.